Hello Stampers, it's Christine from Christine's Stamping Spot, back with you for another Mystery Monday video. So I hope you all had a wonderful weekend celebrating dads. It was Father's Day yesterday, so I hope you had a great time celebrating your dad or grandfather or great-grandfather or husband. So today we are going to make a card that I did with my Stamp Club ladies just the other night, and some of you may be familiar with it. It's one that I've been wanting to try for a while. So it is called a never-ending card. Now, this is what the one we did looks like. So I am going to use some retired product for this video, but at the end I will show you another sample where I did use some current product. So the way this card works and why it's called a never-ending card is because this is the front, then you open it to a second panel, and then to a third panel, and then to a fourth panel, and then you are back at the front. So you can keep just playing with this card back and forth and back and forth, and it is super fun. And quite frankly, it is not very hard to put together. And I know that's maybe hard to believe, and I was a little skeptical at first, but I'm going to go through the mechanics of how to put your base together, and then it's just really up to you on how you want to decorate it. So like I said, I did use some old retired product for this. And so we started with the Misty Moonlight cardstock. And then this is from the Harvest, I believe it's Harvest Meadow designer paper, some of the iconic dies, and then some of the other stamp sets I used were some greetings from the Special Moments, which was our former celebration item. I used some of the dies from the Quiet Meadow. I used a grassy die and a greeting from On the Horizon, which is actually still in our current mini until June 30th. So this is actually current, this product. And then I used some dies from the Nature's Harvest, which is also retired. So if you have any of those, that is what I used for this set. And I will post all of the supplies I used and measurements, etc. And then I'll tell you what I used for the other sample at the end. Okay, so let's start with the mechanics of putting our base together. So what you need to cut are 4 pieces of cardstock. I'll put them this way. And these all measure 6 by 3. So on each piece, what you're going to do is you're going to score it at 1/2 inch and 4.5 inches. So you're going to have one score line on that end and one on that end. And you're going to do that for each of the 4 pieces, okay? So then what we're going to do, we're just going to take our bone folder and we're going to burnish these score lines in all directions, making sure that they're nice and crisp, because this is what's going to help us with our folds. Okay, so I'll just quickly do this. And I apologize if this video might turn a little long, but I just want to make sure that I don't hopefully miss any steps. And also for some of my club people that maybe were not able to attend the other night, this will give you sort of a visual of what we did. And I hope you can follow along. I hope it's not too confusing. I can get a little jumbled in my explanations sometimes, so feel free to rewind as much as you need to. And hopefully this will all come together. Okay, so we have scored and burnished each of our 4 pieces. So I'm going to put 2 of them aside just for a minute and work with these 2. So what you're going to do on each of these 2 pieces is you're going to take a pen or a pencil, and with a ruler or on your grid paper, on each of these 2 sides, so these 3-inch sides here, you're going to put a little mark at 1.5 inches, okay? So I don't know if you can see this on the camera, it might be off camera here, but I'm just going to line up my paper and put a little tick mark at the 1.5 inch mark on each of the ends of 2 pieces, okay? So you can go ahead and do that if you're doing this as I'm going. And so if you can see, I've got a little tick mark there and one there, and then one at 1.5 on each end, okay? So we're going to work with these 2 pieces first because these are actually going to line up here next, you know, top and bottom. This is going to be our top and bottom. Okay, so on the top piece, you're going to take some tear and tape or super strong adhesive. I would recommend tear and tape. Now, from your little pencil mark upward, you are going to put on some tear and tape. And I'll just go ahead and show you here what I mean. So just at the top edge here, and then just above or in line with your pencil mark, and then I'm just going to put one in the middle for extra measure, okay? And then you're going to do that on the right side as well. So you've got your little pencil mark, so you're going to put your tear and tape at the top, and you're not going to go past these score lines, okay? Oh, I just lost my end. Okay, so let's do this here, and then we will put one here in the center. Okay, so that is our top piece. So we'll just move that up. Now on our bottom piece, we have our 2 pencil marks. So we're going to do the same thing with the tear and tape, but we're going to do it on the bottom corners. Okay, so find out where that little mark is, and just below that mark up to the score line, you're going to put your tear and tape on both corners, bottom corners. Okay, so let's just get this prepped, and then we'll go to the next step. So again, on the bottom right, just under the pencil mark, put some tear and tape, and one more little piece for good measure here. Okay. All right, so now on our top piece, what we're going to do is take off that backing here. I'm just going to set aside our bottom piece for a minute. So let's take off our backing on both corners. Okay. And one more here. Okay, so now we have this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in those extra panels. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to flip one of them or place one of them. It doesn't matter which way the fold is going. You're going to flip it, and you're going to line up this right angle with the right angle on the base with the tear and tape. Okay, so this corner is going to line up with this corner, and you're going to try to line it up along the edges. Okay, so I'm just going to turn mine to the side because it makes it a little bit easier for me. So this corner is going to line up with this corner, and the edges are going to line up with the top and the side, and you're just going to give it a press down. Okay, so then you've got one flap here. So now you're going to take the second flap and do the same thing on this side, but just be careful that your panels do not overlap. You just want them to sort of butt against each other, or even a teeny weeny space, because if it overlaps, you're going to have some trouble with it catching when you're trying to flip it and work the mechanism, okay? So I'm just going to turn mine upside down, and I'm just going to sort of butt this against there and line up my corners and edges as best you can. Okay, so then you've got 2 flaps that look like this. Okay, so I hope everybody's with me. So then we're going to flip this over, And we're going to bring in that bottom piece that we added tear and tape. So now we're going to take the backing off of here on both the bottom corners. And if you've got fingernails, that helps, or our take your pick tool is perfect for this. Okay, so now we have our two bottom corners. So I'm just going to flip our base here, because what we're going to do is we're going to add this piece and butt it up against here and secure it on this side. So I'm going to turn my tear and tape piece over. I'm going to try to line this up, just butting it against, not overlapping. Let me just see if I can do it this way so I can see my corner. Okay, line up your top and your sides and your corner and press down. And then you should have a perfect square. This will measure 6 inches by 6 inches. So let us give this a try. This is all that you do to put your mechanism together. So you can have your bone folder handy, because we may need to burnish this a little bit more. And let's give this a go. Okay, so we're going to open the first flap here, and then I'm just going to take my bone folder and burnish these edges here. Okay, so that's our second. Then we're going to open it again to our third panel, and we're just going to burnish these edges. And then our next panel will be here, and then we'll be back to the beginning. Is that just not so cool? And it was not even very difficult. So the more you flip this mechanism, the more times you do it, the easier it will be, as far as things catching. Luckily, this one isn't catching too badly. And now it's really just a matter of decorating it. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So this is going to be the front of our card right here, if you can see that. So I'm going to show you the pieces that you're going to need for each panel. And then when I put on the instructions on the Facebook page, you'll see exactly how many you need. And you can use whatever designer paper you want, whatever cardstock you want. I'm just going to give you the measurements, and that will be standard for any card like this. Okay, so for the front, what you are going to need for your base pieces, anything you add on top will be extra, but for your base pieces, what you're going to need here, you're going to need 2 pieces of 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, and 2 other pieces, whether it's designer paper or cardstock, of 2.5 by 2.5. Okay. And then you're going to need, for these corners here, you're going to need 4 pieces of whatever color base you want at 2 3/4 by 1 1/4. Okay, so you're going to have 4 of those, which is like the white on my sample. And then you're going to have 4 pieces. I use designer paper to go on top of these at 2.5 by 1, 2.5 by 1 inch. Okay, so those are the pieces that are going to go on the front. All right, so let me just set these aside, and I've gone ahead and sort of assembled my mats. I'm just going to put them all here now on our base. Okay, so I'll put one here in the center of big ones, and then we will put the second one on right on the square next to it. So just be aware, if you're using designer paper, if it has any sort of direction to it, like these flowers do have an up and a down. This is, yeah, I think I mentioned from the Harvest think the Harvest Meadow DSP or something like that. It was in our last fall mini, I believe. And then we'll put these pieces here on our 4 corners. Okay, so I'll do that like this. On our bottom right. And then our left bottom here. Okay. And then what I did to jazz mine up is I just stamped just a card to say you're amazing, and cut that out with one of our dies. And you can use whatever decoration you want or greeting. And then using the iconic dies, I cut out, and this is I think from the Tasteful Labels, if I'm not mistaken, I just cut out a circle. And we will put that here on this side. And I cut out my bird from the iconic dies in Misty Moonlight. And I do have an adhesive sheet. This is such a detailed bird. And I'm going to put him on top of the white, like so. Okay, so there's our front. It kind of matches. Okay, so let's go into the next panel, our second panel, and I'll show you the pieces that we're going to use for this. Okay, so for this one, our base pieces are going to be, so we've got 2 pieces of crumb cake, again at 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, and then some DSP at 2.5 by 2.5, and those are going to go top and bottom. Then I've got 4 small squares of the crumb cake to go in each of the corners, and those will have DSP on them. Okay, so the 4 corners here. And then this piece, now I did a little boo-boo with our club ladies. I actually, and if you're watching, I actually just cut for them a piece to go, like a smaller piece to go here and here. And that works, that's fine. So if you're watching, just adhere those pieces to those rectangular spots on this layer. But what I meant to do was, if you'll notice on the sample, when you open it to the next level, it's actually a full piece. Okay, so that's where I messed up with the girls. I should have given them a 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 piece, but actually I just gave them a piece for the panel. But that's okay, you can still use it. So for our purposes, I've got 2 pieces of, this is our old cork paper at 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. Okay, and then we will do some decorating on top of all of those. Okay, so I'm just going to set this aside. Okay, so let me grab the pieces here that we're going to use. So I have gone ahead and assembled a few. Okay, so we're going to put this one here on the top, wishing you so much happiness. And this is from the On the Horizon, I believe, this greeting. And then I just cut it out with one of the dies that I had. And I will list all these products too, in case you're wondering. And then we're going to add the one with our mushrooms. Now for this, for the mushrooms, I cut these out of the old retired iconic dies. There's a large one and a small one. And then I just, on the top of the mushroom cap here, I just put it on a piece of the Misty Moonlight because I wanted the blue to show through these these circles. And then I just trimmed off the excess. Okay, and then I layered them on there. And this grass is from the On the Horizon dies, and that was cut out of the Evening Evergreen. Okay, so if you're wondering what that was. And I just love these little mushrooms. Those iconic dies were so, so cute. Okay, so then I'm gonna attach these corner pieces here. Oops. Put these here in the corner. So I hope you're all still with me and that you will give this a try. I know it isn't something you would probably do en masse unless you have all of your pieces cut, because it does take just a little bit of time. Okay, so for here, if you were, and you could do this too if you wanted, you could just put a small piece of whatever DSP or cardstock you wanted there. But I'm going to fill this whole panel with the cork here. Okay, so let's just put this on here. This is on the next flap, so our third opening. Okay, and then I'm gonna just close it back to the second one so we can do some decorating on these side flaps. Okay. All right, so now I've got the cork showing here too. So what I did is I just cut some dies. These are some grassy dies from one of the Quiet Meadow or Harvest Meadow sets. So I just cut those out of the same DSP on, and I put them, most of it on an adhesive sheet. And these are kind of delicate, so just be careful when you take this off. Whoops, because it could rip, but that's okay. You can always piece it together. Now I missed a little teeny bit of adhesive up here of the adhesive sheet, so I'm just going to put a teeny bit of glue there. All right, and then I'm going to, oh no, I probably should have done this before I put that cork down because these edges are going to be a little bit long. Oh my goodness, okay. So let's just lay these down here and I'll just trim these off after the fact. And you've got the grasses sort of here. Okay, so this is a little bit long, so let me see if I can try to trim this off. Otherwise, yeah, make sure you put these, if you're putting anything on this piece that hangs over, good idea to put it on before you attach it. That way you can still cut it off. Okay, and then we're going to put it on the other side. Now I did cut these apart here because I wanted to go like large stem, medium, small, and I wanted that to be sort of a mirror image there. So I kind of cut this and we'll put these on individually. Just so they, you know, kind of match from tall to small going in. Hope that makes sense. You don't have to do it that way, but okay, so let's put this one here and then our small one. Okay, our small one I'll put just right here. Okay, so I did miss a teeny weeny bit on this one here again with my adhesive sheet. So let's just add a teeny weeny bit of glue there to tack that down. And we'll trim these off at the bottom. Okay, so you don't have to be as elaborate in decorating. I'm just kind of showing you the project I did with my club ladies. Okay, so there is our second panel. Now we are going to open it to our, oh, I'm stuck here. There we go. To our third panel. So you'll see the cork is on this, essentially on the second and the third panel. So for this one, we are going to need, for our base, just some small squares. So you're going to need 4 cardstock and 4 designer paper, or however you choose to do that, okay? And so I did mine ahead here. So let's put these little squares on. Oh my goodness. Stuff is sticking to everything here. Okay, so we'll put these in our little squares. And we'll do one here. And we'll do one here. And which way is up? So small. Okay. And then I wanted to add a couple butterflies. So I have a large one and two small ones. Now, something to be aware of, just so you know, if you're going to add anything on sort of the center, just make sure that it's a little bit closer to the center, because when your second layer is there, ideally you would like to have those covered. And if you put them a little too far over, I'll just show you with this butterfly like this, then it would kind of show through. And it, for me, I kind of like it to be a surprise and to be hidden and not just see part of that image. So we're gonna put some adhesive on here. And we're just gonna put these a little closer to the center, just so that they will be covered up with that flap. And it'll kind of be a surprise then to see these butterflies when you open it, right? So you've basically got this much space wherever this lines up. So you don't want to go over, you want to kind of keep it in there so that when these are closed, you don't see them, but when you open it, ta-da, there are your butterflies. So that's our third panel. And we have one more to go and then we're done. Yay! So for this panel, so that was our third, and this will be our last panel. So for these pieces, what you need as your base pieces here. Now I kind of reversed it. So I put designer paper, 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, and then I put 2 of the white so I could stamp happy birthday on there. And this one I left blank because this is where you can write your little message. Okay, and then for our rectangles here, you've got 4 pieces at 2 3/4 by 1 1/4, and then your DSP on top, which is 2 1/2 by 1. Okay, so that's what will make up our last page. So I went ahead and did those. So let's just attach these, and then we will give it a whirl from start to finish and see how this flips and if I've got it all in the right spot. Okay, so we'll do this, these rectangles first. And you could do this for so many occasions, for a very special person. And you could do birthday, you could do anniversary, new baby, wedding, I suppose. You could do a lot of different occasions. All right, so we're gonna put the happy birthday on the top panel, and then we'll leave the blank one at the bottom so you can write your little message to your special person. And that is our last flap. So let's give this a go and see if it works. Okay, so here's our front, our second panel, our third panel, and our last panel. And then you come back to the front. I love this. Interactive cards are so popular. They'd make a great card for a kid's birthday. Once you show them how to work it, I'm sure they could be amused for a little while, just flipping it, flipping it, flipping it. Okay, so that is the project I did with my club ladies. So I wanted to show you the alternative one that I did. And the one I used, or the suite I kind of used for this was, I did this for a Father's Day card for my husband. And I used the He's All That bundle. So this is the stamp set, and then you get this fabulous designer paper with die cuts in it. So you get 2 sheets of die cuts, so 2 of each die cut, and makes for super simple, to add your greetings. You just find out a die, pick out a die cut and stick that on there. And they've got different kinds of designer paper in here. So you've got camping, if your husband or the man that you want to give this to is a camper. You've got some vintage cars. You've got some barbecue paper, some ties and glasses, and then just some really nice like diagonal diamond patterns, plaid patterns, some verticals, and just some really, really great paper. Okay, so you're ready to see what I did? So here we go. This was my card. And this is an extra sample that I wanted to show you. So for here, my husband does some barbecuing, and it is kind of a flip card, right? So I used one of the die cuts that says, "You're flippin' awesome," and used some of the barbecue paper and some Cajun Craze. So my base color I used was Early Espresso. Then the second one was Looking Sharp with the bow tie, Best Dad Award. And then you flip it, Wishing You a Happy Father's Day, Holy Smokes, You're the Best with the barbecue. And then Wishing You a Happy Father's Day, Hooray, and then the signature page. And then you start at the front. So I was super happy with how this turned out. I thought it was really great for a masculine card, and he just had a blast opening this and just playing with how it folded. This was so simple. Now, one thing to mention is, because it is a 6x6 card, it will not fit in our standard envelope. So if you are someone that has a retired envelope punch board, you can make your own envelope out of cardstock or DSP, and that's what I did. So I used the matching designer paper from the suite, and I made an envelope, and that fit our card perfectly. And that is what he got to open. So if not, check your local stationery store. Perhaps they have envelopes that fit 6x6, and that is just a great little addition. So I do have a host code for June. It is SC4RNGR4, and you're welcome to use that at checkout on my website at christineludwig.stampinup.net. And also, just announced this weekend, we have a free shipping day tomorrow, Tuesday, June 21, for 1 day only. Free shipping on any orders of $100 or more. So if there's anything you're looking for from our annual catalog, perhaps the He's the Man suite, you can get free shipping on that. And you can do that through my website, as mentioned, christineludwig.stampinup.net. And you're also welcome to follow me on Facebook, Pinterest, and my new YouTube channel, which I'd love if you would subscribe to, all known as Christine Stamping Spot. So I hope you enjoyed these projects and that you will give it a try, and leave me a comment to let me know if you've tried it, or I'd love to see what you guys came up with. It is so fun and really not very difficult. Just a little bit of planning involved. All right, so I hope you all have a wonderful week, and we will see you again next time. Bye for now.